Hey, show-offs. I'm so excited because I'm about to interview my good friend Jade, and here she is. You're going to love her. Here she comes. How do I do this? Hi, there you are.
Hi, aloha, honey.
Aloha. Oh,
So
glad
nice
to
to
see
see
you.
you.
Your background is awesome.
I know. I'm like, let me get the phoenix in here.
I know that some people can change their background, but yours is like really
This is a mural. Yeah, it's a mural.
Seen in real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show. Oh, I love how you have your buds on. I'm gonna do that too.
Yeah.
Also, let me see, make sure they're connected. Yes. Okay. So thanks for your presence, because let me make sure. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Thanks for being here, and I think they're on. Okay, good. I don't know if I'm hearing you through here or there, but that's okay. You're in. Great. So this show is heard by a lot of single mamas. And that's something, besides living on the island, that you and I have in common. We both are single moms. And I would love for you to share a little bit more about, I gave a little introduction, but you can introduce yourself better than I can about what you do and who you are.
Sure. Okay. First off, it's so lovely to see you, Sarah. I'm happy to see you. Happy to be here. And thanks, everyone. So
nice. Right now.
So my name is Jade Rajbir Kuar, and that means Queen of Courage. And I took on my spiritual name about 12 years ago. Before that, I was a really intense overachiever in New York City. I was running 7 companies. I was a full contact fighter. I was teaching martial arts. I was a day trader. You know, all these things. I was traveling around the world setting up art museums and galleries. And then I had a huge kind of a meltdown, a nervous breakdown, lost everything, got really sick, and a dark night of the soul. And that was back in 2006. And so after that, I decided I needed to like revamp and like rethink my entire life. And I decided to commit my life to spirit and to let go of trying to please anyone else, trying to like fit society's expectations or demands or whatever else, and to really just tune in with my own soul and create a life centered from there. And so I lived out of my car for 3 years. Like I left New York. I left all the high-powered New York corporate stuff, and I lived out of a truck. And I traveled around wherever spirit blew me, and I studied plant medicine, detoxing, wellness, yoga, Kundalini yoga, fasting. I was just like praying and fasting all over the place in the deserts of Arizona and California, and I finally felt healthy and spiritually strong again. And so then I was wondering where to place my roots, and spirit led me to Hawaii. And I now I built several temples out here on the feet of the volcano and in the jungle. And I have a lava sanctuary here, and with several tiny homes and like this outdoor, like kind of open air off-grid temple space. And we're always communing with the volcano and all the elements, and I'm surrounded in majestic nature. And while I've been here for 12 years, I became a healer and a teacher and a spiritual guide. And I was a life coach before. Now I'm like a life soul coach, and I do soul clearings. And I just finished writing a book all about transmuting trauma into treasure, and that has become my life's path right now.
Wow. I knew you had some amazing past. I did not know that about your past life in New York. If knowing Jade, it's kind of hard to swallow that. Like,
I know, because I'm such a yoga mama, like such a nurturing yoga mama now. And my nickname was Killer before. Like my nickname was Warrior Killer. And I used to love like beating down big men. Like that was like my pastime.
love it. Well, in the intro, I mentioned that among your single mama friends, you might not know this, so we call you the ninja.
Oh, that's
I call you the ninja because you're just like, you connect people, you get stuff done, and you're just like, I'm not saying that you're sneaky, but it's like your stealth in your actions. Like it's not a big to do. You're just kind of like, oh,
right. Get shit done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We love that about you. It's very inspiring. But
Thank
I
you.
am amazed to hear that has been your path and your story. I've been really excited about, well, first I've always been inspired by you because I think that you're an amazing example of somebody changing the archetype of what it means to be a single mom. And you're never saying that it isn't hard or that there aren't struggles, but you take it all with so much grace and deep breaths and presence and just finding the light always. And I just think that's all we can do, right? To be happy and like raise our children in a way that feels empowered. And I just really love that about you. And I've been wanting to have you on the show because of that since I've had the show and since I've known you. So thank you for being here. Yeah. And I've also been very excited about your book. And Glennon Doyle says that if you have a book in you, you'll know it because you walk around saying, am I a writer? Am I a writer? And people who aren't writers don't walk around themselves that. And then you also know because if someone else publishes a book, you're happy for them, but there's a little part of you that's a little bit jealous.
Yes.
That description. And I was like, oh yeah, I know about those things. So I was just curious if that resonated with you, if that was something that before you actually got this baby out into the world, if that's something you had felt.
It's funny that you say that. Yeah, so I have a master's degree in poetry and I've edited 28 other people's books.
Oh.
So I've been an editor my whole life. And then Darshan came out with her book like 2 years ago and I got really jealous. And I was like, wait, where's my book? And so then I went and I did the author incubator program that she also did, which has you pretty much write a book in 9 weeks, And that's when I wrote my book, which is called The Radiant Lotus Way, Keys to Transforming Trauma into Treasure. And I just wanted to give like a kind of best practices over like my last decades of self-development growth and stuff of like, I'm really intrigued by like diving into those dark spaces where we like have like stored stuck energy or trauma because it's just too overwhelming to handle it at the time, and like offering that safe space to alchemize that and freeing up the life force and then opening up all these new possibilities that become available, your freedom, your power, your clarity when you transmute that old stuff. So that's kind of what I love to do. And so yeah, the book talks a little bit about that.
That to me is the definition of empowerment. It's not about like never having problems. It's not about never facing anything hard. It's about, like you said, transmuting and alchemizing that trauma
and being able to like ninja that stuff, like just be like, whoosh, let's just turn that around and see how this can actually be such a source of blessing and strength.
Yes, I love that. And I know that as a mom, I find that to be really, what's the word? Gosh, I don't know. Good to hear, because I always want to protect my daughter from any and all trauma and anything bad happening to her. I mean, even when she was a baby, I got mad at my mom one time because she got her baby clothes wet while she was wearing them. I'm like, she's going to be cold. And my mom's like, chill out. And I had to realize, like, as a mom, like, I can't protect her from all bad things happening. But what I can do is teach her what you're saying and to shift that and to take that as your power. And that's right. Amazing.
And I actually want to share, so in my book, there's tips on emotional mastery and stuff like that. And I have a client who used it on her 8-year-old girl, where her 8-year-old girl was having a temper tantrum and freaking out. And she started doing a soul clearing and helping her 8-year-old like manage the emotions and like pass through them and like listen to them and honor them and see what they had to say. And like, and her 8-year-old just like went through it and did it, and she was like great afterwards. So there's all these really amazing tools for like emotional resilience and how to handle emotions in a good way, so that like our kids can learn this. And I teach Alakai all of these things as well.
That's her son, who's
Yeah.
gorgeous and looks exactly like you. I absolutely love him. He has such a sweetness about him. He's very strong, peaceful presence. I love that boy. So thank you for bringing a great young man into the world and teaching him those things. My gosh, that's amazing.
It's so important to teach our children. Like I just make it such a point to teach Alakai, he's 9, kindness, empathy, and wisdom and compassion. Like those are so important.
Yes, thank you. That's so good. So I'm really curious. You're talking about that there's these tips and tools in the book, and you mentioned this working through the emotions. Is there something that you can share with people who are listening who may not be so practiced in these like spiritual ways, like something that's really tactical that they can digest in just one single?
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to. I think one of the ways is to have a proper relationship with our mind and emotions where we don't over identify with them, like so we don't get consumed by them. So instead, being able to have emotions and have thoughts without them having us. So like, for example, with emotions, I invite people to treat emotions like, treat them like weather, like, oh, there's a storm passing through. Okay, I'm not going to try to repress or suppress a storm. You're going to let the storm pass through. You're going to embrace and allow the holy rage or the holy grief or whatever comes through. And then another way is to honor them as messengers. So I really tune in and feel into what is the message behind these emotions. Like one time I was feeling fear about the whole COVID thing. When it first came around, I'm feeling some anxiety. What is that? Let me dive in and explore. Oh, my fear is telling me it wants me to go get a month's worth of supplies. Okay, let me go do that. And then the fear relaxes. Like, so just hearing into what message it has. And then the third thing was treating emotions like small children. And so like, if you had like grief or anger or whatever, you wouldn't, instead of like just pushing it down or feeling bad about it or making yourself wrong, like allow it, invite it in, wrap your arms around it and be like, and just hold it and embrace it and just be like, oh, let me hold you while you're feeling angry or sad. So like treating yourself that way too, like in your emotions, your emotional states. As well as, yes, and then just definitely, I love somatic exercises, like just put your hands on your body and just start breathing deeply, you know, and just feel into it, allow it to be, allow everything to arise and let it be. Feel them fully.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And it's a great practice in the art of allowing, which from Island we call being in the flow.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I think that's really important. And I wonder, like, for instance, I think about emotions and me being a child and thinking about the way like my dad, for instance, would handle my emotions, and God bless him because he was not prepared for this. And now as a mom with a child who's like, you know, a humongous personality and a lot of passion, I have compassion and empathy for my dad and how he must have not just been so ill prepared to handle me. And he would say things to me like, if I was crying, he would say, oh, I'll give you something to cry about. Like this isn't worth that. Like that emotion doesn't equal what or this situation doesn't equal that emotion that you're offering it. And so I've found myself like when I am grieving or angry or having a hard time getting over something, that it's like, I hear that in me kind of being like, all right, buck up, like get over it now, you know? And I also know that that's not self-loving and that's not how I would treat my daughter. And so I try to treat myself the way I would treat her.
Right.
What would you have to say for someone who has like those old synapses like grounded into their brain that they know cognitively that they want to change, but on a cellular level, they seem to be kind of always there. What would you?
Right. Yes, I deal with a lot of clients, like in their head they might know something, but it's still in their cellular body. And so I'm really into the somatic, like get into the body and like dive in and feel it deeper, like deeply, and like 500%, like amplify it and allow it to be. When, like, of course, make sure you're in a safe space where you can do that and stuff. But like I regularly like go through all my emotions and allow them to be, and I stay like I'm like the eye at the center of the storm. Like I allow, I witness, and I watch, and I fully allow. And I know that that's not who I truly am. Like who I truly am is like my soul self and stuff, but I allow my human experience to be fully there. I don't repress or deny any of it. And like feel it 1,000%, like work on it. Oh, this actually reminds me from something from childhood. Oh, I see, I have a deeper level of healing to do. And definitely like feeding and pouring like self-love back into yourself around that, and comforting that little child. And then, and at the same time, like I do believe in being like a warrioress and a queen and all of these other things. I think I don't see them as conflict.
I love that. I love that allowing of all of it, and the witnessing, and the non-identification of the emotions. I think that's really brilliant. I know that for me, like when I'm going through a hard time and someone asks me, how are you? I'm like, anything else? You got any other questions for me? I don't that. How much time do you have? And then I start getting into my head about like say I'm overwhelmed and I don't want to be in that state of overwhelmed for any longer than I have to. But I know that if I start going around saying I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed, then that's going to be what I bring in, and that's going to be my experience. So do you have a practice for like the balance between internalizing and feeling something versus sharing it? And like, how do you answer a question like that when you're in the midst, and slash, this is like a long-winded question, but don't you feel like, or do you also feel rather that this whole quarantine has kind of taught people about just sitting with what is more, and like not having to interact with people all the time?
Right.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, there is a fine balance. Like I love being by myself, and I process a lot of stuff on my own and with source and like on my own. And I love like once or twice a week having a safe container with other amazing women, usually, that I can just like blah, like I'm not going to be enlightened. This is what's happening. Like F this, whatever. So, and like giving myself full permission to go there, and with them too. Like I'm blessed that I create these containers of safety. Like, so I have one online with my group program, and then I have one with my friends where there's pretty much full permission to like be, say, do, express however you feel. And I know who you truly are is this like
Yes.
amazing, radiant queen self. And please feel free to like express whatever you need to express.
I love that. I love that. That's so good. So, how can people get a hold of your book?
So it just got released on Amazon, so you can look it up on Kindle. It's The Radiant Lotus Way. I lowered the price to, I think it's just like $1 for the whole month of May. I just wanted to make it really, really easy for people to access. Yeah.
Great.
Or people can go to my website and I can send them a PDF either way. Yeah.
And that link will be in the show notes to Jade's website.
Sure. Yeah.
I really love that you are making that so readily available, and I hope everybody like gets a hold of it and shares it. How do you feel after like putting yourself out there like that?
It's interesting. Like I'm 42 years old now. It's like about fucking time. Can I curse?
Yes. Oh, I cut off. My show.
Like it's about fucking time. So that's one thing where it's like, oh gosh, about time. Yeah. But also I get that we're like, all of us are so called to step up and show ourselves and show our gifts. even if it's uncomfortable or whatever. So I've been doing a vulnerability challenge where okay, I'm just going to get on Facebook Live and just read excerpts from my book and stuff. I did that for 6 days in a row. And I'm just going to, whatever, just get your stuff out there, show up. Spirit only cares that you show up. Doesn't care if you're perfect.
I love that. I love that. We actually have an episode on this show about perfectionism. And it was a very popular episode. And I'm like, wow, that's really a thing. I never have cared about that because I'm fully aware of my imperfections.
A lot of people do, yeah. Especially Asian women, but anyway.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I know I'm a mess, but I love people. So it's never been a problem for me. I'm like, cool. If I wasn't me, I'd love my mess too. With it.
I love your hot mess. It's great. No.
Yeah, it's so great. And so, but I love that you said that because I know that people do struggle with that. And I'm also curious. So I've been a single mom for 2 years now. You for 9, am I right? You've been a single mom for 9?
Yeah,
pretty much. Like that. Yeah. So, as my elder on this journey of being a single mom, and I know, like I said, a lot of people who listen to this show are single moms. Is there anything that you would say? I mean, I know it's a broad question, but is there something that just comes to mind when you think about, if you could have said something to Jade when you were early in your journey of being a single mom? Is there anything that you would have said to her that you could say?
Right, yeah. That's so interesting. I kind of wrote my book, my ideal audience was me as a maiden before. The message I would want to give to women in general, and especially single moms, is take a breath and take care of yourself. Just find every moment to pour yourself self-love and validation and all of that. Try not to seek it outside or elsewhere, and just always try to fill up your own cup. And I know it can be hard when there's crying children and all this stuff around, and just as much as you can, just take some deep breaths, hydrate, eat well, do your best to give yourself self-love and self-care as much as possible, even when you're running around taking care of a million things.
I love that. That's what we talk about a lot on this show.
Yeah, it's so important. And I know it can be difficult. I know it can be, but just just try and do your best. And sometimes they'll have to wait a second, while you just take care of yourself for a minute.
That's so true. And I've seen with my daughter, Luna, who's sleeping right next to me, by the way.
Aww.
So she's getting this information subconsciously. Is that when I think, oh, I'll be the better mom and put my needs off to the side and show up for her now, then I show up irritated and crabby and rude and short. And that's not what I want to show her. That's not who I want to be for her. So I'd much rather her wait or actually get used to my routine so that I can show up for her really well. She's now 4. And since she was, 2, I started waking up at 5 a.m. so I could have alone time before she wakes up. And in my alone time is when I meditate and do my yoga and my inspirational reading and my writing and my hot coffee. That's something that makes me crazy, is having to warm up your coffee 6 times by 10 a.m. You just want to drink it hot. And so that's something that I do for me. And now that she's 4, and we've been doing this regularly for 2 years, if she wakes up and I'm not visible, I'm not in the bed with her or right there in the room waiting for her to wake up, she knows, hey, mom's just in the next room on the yoga mat. And she'll come out all sleepy-eyed and put her arms out back to the bed now and come snuggle with me, and then I'm ready to come snuggle with her. And then yesterday I saw her pretending on her own, which is something she's been having to do a lot more lately now there's no school. And I'm like, play by yourself. Sorry you don't have a sibling. Have fun with that. And I watched her, and what she was playing was a mock of me doing my morning routine.
Oh, that's so
It was
cute.
amazing. Yeah, she sat and meditated. She did her yoga mat. She got out like one of my books and was like pretending
That's
to
so
read it.
cute.
Wrote her journal and like got on her phone. So, and I do my posts on Instagram and Snapchat.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, so I was like, isn't that amazing that she's always asleep for it? Yet
Mm,
she's aware, she hears me talk about it, like
yeah.
has come out and seen me with my things, and she knows. And I think, God dang, if I could do everything wrong, but I got right, is to first take care of you, then
Totally. Yeah,
mm,
I've trained alakai also. Like you have to kind of train your children to respect your like moments of alone time and what you need to. And I'm like, mom needs quiet in the morning, mom needs quiet at night. Otherwise I will get grumpy and we don't want grumpy, like and this is my bathroom time. You do not come in when the bathroom is closed, door is locked, like, so
yes.
yeah, you have to teach them to respect that too, your
And what
boundaries.
that does, right, is to teach them to do that for themselves and to be like,
Exactly.
do. Yeah. I know I saw my mom being really crabby and overwhelmed, and she had 4 kids and, not a lot of money. And I can just imagine how stressful that was. But I remember being a little kid being like, why doesn't she just take a nap? Obviously
Right.
tired, you know what I mean? And so it's like, it's a good thing. I love that that's what you said. I love that that's your answer, because like, it might look different than it did before we had kids, but it's still possible. And that's what I think
Hmm.
took me some time to figure out. Oh, it just looks different. It's just less
Right.
time or whatever. And that's great. Oh my goodness, I love that. And I've been really thinking about your book a lot lately, and I just want to talk about it a little bit more before I let you go, which
Hmm.
is about the transforming trauma. And I'm curious um, if there's like a system or an understanding or a practice of like emotional guidance scale within what you're teaching in your book. And um, like I think about like the stages of grief, and how you go through these different processes. Like, is that something that you found to be relatable in your healing and transformation of trauma?
Hmm. Um, well, there's two different ways I could answer that. Um, I'm not sure I think you mean like this, do you mean that like the spectrum of emotion?
Right. Like I've recently been going through something that I feel like is really traumatic. And
Mm.
I've been witnessing myself almost outside of myself being like,
Mm-hmm.
I was really, really sad. But now I don't feel sad as much as now I'm starting to feel angry,
Mm.
you know,
Right,
and
right, right.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, what angry feels better than sad? Yay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of like I wonder how long I'll be angry and what's next. Is it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, there's definitely so like the primary emotions are like anger, fear, sadness, and then shame and guilt kind of have their own category.
okay?
So they all kind of wrap up into each other too. Like when I'm doing a soul clearing on someone, there might be anger at first, and then it like underneath it is sadness, or there might be sadness at first, and then we stoke up the anger and we allow that to come out. So they often travel together, not like there's not one or two that's they just travel together and like blend, and different people have different primary ones and stuff. So we do, like when I work on people one-on-one, or soul clearings, I usually clear out at least 3 different emotions, because 3 different stages of the emotional thing, because it's like they usually travel together like that.
Like,
Anger, fear, sadness, shame, guilt. So we usually get to clear that out. And then the other thing I ask people to look at is like, what would make this situation a victory for you? What would turn it around and make it a triumph and like a victory in your own life, where you could look back and be like, wow, I really ninja'd that shit, like whatever it is. I mean, because I've been through like more than 100 assaults. I've been through years of like sexual abuse. I've been through 9/11. I've been through 3 evacuations, like
right, lava.
volcano eruptions. Like I've been through so much different stuff. And it's like I always had to kind of look at it, like take a wider view and be like, okay, I know it's really overwhelming at this moment, and that's fine. I will allow myself to feel that later on or whatever. Right now I'm fleeing because lava's coming.
Right.
But like but what would make this situation, what will make this situation like a triumphant victory, what and redeemable, like what will redeem this situation? And so I often will look at the wider view of that.
I
And
love that. That's I can easily answer that for myself with what I'm going through easily. So I love that that's the question. And then once you've discovered the answer to that question, I mean, do you suggest people just kind of keep your eye on the prize, like as you move through? Or is it kind of like keep your focus on that, or like don't ignore these feelings? Is it something that is kind of
it's a kind of, yeah, it's kind of both, because you want to honor I encourage you to honor your feelings fully, but just don't identify them with them. Like, just know that it's just energy that you need to move, So for example, like I was having a hard time with my son's dad at one point, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to deal with this situation? Like, this is so painful. And I was like, what? In my head, I'm like, okay, Jade, what would make this a victory? And I was like, you know what? The best, highest thing would be for me to pull my energy out from him, my energy and focus away from him, let that shit go, let him do what he does, stay civil, and work out our 1 week co-parenting thing. And I'm going to pour all of my focus and energy onto writing my book. And that's what I did. Like, because I was like, I could either spiral down into this trauma,
yeah.
like not good thing, and it would traumatize my son and me and him and be expensive and whatever, or I could accept what's going on, feel what I feel, own my side of it too, but like move my focus elsewhere. And the focus needs to come back to myself and what's best for like my soul dharma and all of that. So that's what I did. And that's where the book kind of came from. It was like,
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
it was like spiral down into trauma, or
Yeah.
like shoot forward and like throw my hat over a fence and write a book.
I love that. Also, I feel super validated right now with you saying that, because when all of this started with what's going on with me now, I felt really paralyzed and unable to serve or work or record my podcast or really do anything.
Right.
And I thought, well, this is okay for now. This is what I told myself. But I don't want to stay like this, because what makes you happy, Sarah? And I'm like, well, my podcast makes me happy. Writing makes me happy. Connecting and sharing makes me happy. So if I completely stop doing that, then how am I going to feel like me? How am I going to feel good? And then I thought, okay, Sarah, me and Sarah were having a talk.
Good. Yeah.
Well, how can you produce something right now, like this week, that's going to be beneficial for all the listeners who you love and you don't want to abandon, but also like feels safe and feels easy and feels like the path of least resistance for me? And that's why I hit you up, because I'm like, Jade, that's who I want to talk to right now. And that's the beautiful thing about having a podcast. When you have amazing people in your life, you're like, I'd love to talk to you. Let's make it for everybody.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad you did that, honey. And yes, I would totally encourage you to just like allow yourself to be and feel whatever you feel and stuff, and be gentle with yourself right now.
Definitely. But also, like you said, it's kind of like, this is how I'm not spiraling. Which I liked how you said that.
Spiral down into the trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there,
Right.
I want to be bright, and I want to be myself, and I want to feel strong. And this is what we're doing right now is what makes me feel those things. And I wouldn't be able to just get on like I normally do and just pick up my phone and record a podcast. Like, I know I can't do that right now, but what I can do is talk with someone who I love, someone who I know is like present and understanding, and has that healing nature that you have. So that's really cool that I'm doing great advice.
That's awesome.
And I also just want to honor you, because like, this is the thing, Jade. This is what I think, why I think my work is important, is because I want to encourage and I do because I've seen it happen, encourage women to be like, whatever your mess is, whatever your wisdom is, whatever your story is, if you put it out there, think of who you could be benefiting. Think of who else could heal and relate and see. And because you have done the choice of not spiraling in the drama, but rather also being present and changing your life and then sharing who you are and what you've learned, that is vibrating out in a way that is already helping people.
Right.
And even before you and I had this conversation, just tapping into your energy, I'm like, yes, that's something that feels good and right. So I just want to honor you, and just any woman who's out there listening right now who might be like, gosh, maybe my story does matter, or, you know, maybe I should share, or maybe I should just put myself out there in whatever way. And that doesn't mean online or a book. It could just mean to your neighbor, you know, to your girlfriend, to someone at your church or whatever. So I just want to honor you for doing that, and really hope that the woman out there who's like, oh yeah, that message is for me, that that she feels celebrated and encouraged.
Yeah, totally. And I just want to add to that and just say that, like, every woman, every one of us, and every woman especially, has so much treasure inside them, and so many gifts and like capacities to offer and to be with. And there's like a field of infinite possibilities. So even when things seem really dark or harsh or whatever, like, please just like take a step back, take some deep breaths, drink some water, and just like tune into your soul self and just be like, there is a highest, best outcome in everything, no matter what. And let me just tune into that and follow that and see what goodness can come out of this.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that when we ask for clarity around what that might be, that comes. I couldn't see it right away, but I saw it pretty quick. And I definitely see that vision of why and how it could be better, and what triumph can come from this.
Yeah, cool.
I cannot wait to digest your book. I'm going to go on Amazon right now after this call and gobble it up. I'm going to suggest that everybody listening do the same. I mean, hello, $1 for 2 more weeks. Let's take advantage of that and share and share and share, so that Jade can really just have that spread out, because that's really the best way to share, is just from other word of mouth. So
is it okay if I mention my program that comes with it?
Oh, a program comes with it?
Well, it doesn't come with it, but it's accompanying. It's based on the book. So on the new moon on May 22nd, I lead people through the Phoenix process, which is what the book talks about, the different keys and stuff. So if you want to feel like you have a safe, sacred container to go on a healing journey with me and other amazing women, like, please tune in and reach out to me for more info on that.
So that's on your website that we can find that?
Yeah, so there's more info there.
Amazing. I'm signing up. That sounds like something I want to do. Amazing. Yes, I know. I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, I'd already be knocking on your door and laying on your door and being like,
you're welcome to.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, here's your gong mallet. I'll be laying on your floor waiting.
Yeah. Aww.
I love that. Awesome.
I think it's so important that women have like that safe container where they can feel supported. So this offers like a season of support.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Good for you. Gosh, that must feel good to put that out there and offer that. And it's online, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's online. We have women from Istanbul and New York and San Diego and LA and everywhere.
I love that it's all women too. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Well, Jade, I'm going to show you what I have here. My coworker.
Oh, I'm shocked she could sleep through it.
She's used to it.
Yeah.
Every podcast episode I've ever recorded has either been with her sleeping or in school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you, Mama, for making it work, you know? For you.
She's used to it. I think she likes it because she knows I'm near.
Yeah. Cool.
I know she's gonna be waking up soon though, so I want to let you go, but
Hmm.
I thank you so much for being who you are. You're so radiant and beautiful, and I am so excited to read your book and join your amazing healing offering support group, I'm gonna call it. And like I said to all listening, I know you're listening to this like, I need more Jade in my life. So all of those links are going to be in the show notes and all of our Instagram, because I'm going to blast this puppy up on the IG and on the FB. So you guys can connect with Jade. And I know I'll be seeing you in real life soon. And I'm going to give
I
you
hope so. Aw.
a
Thank you so much, honey. I love you so much, you and Luna, and much
yeah,
love to you.
much
Thank
love.
you.
Namaste and aloha.
Aloha.